Please welcome our special guests, Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin, two actors we at GQ think will be at the Oscars this year. I think we're going to start with the first clip.
How much?
69 cents.
And the gas?
Y'all getting any rain up your way?
What way would that be?
I seen you was from Dallas.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from? Friendo?
I didn't mean nothing by it.
Didn't mean nothing.
If you don't want to accept that, I don't know what else I can do for you.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
For what?
Just call it.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair.
I didn't put nothing up.
Yes, you did. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything. Call it.
Was that good?
Call it. Call it.
Did you finally learn how to perform?
I did. Every time I watch him, it makes my heart pitter-patter.
I think the first thing we want to know is, where'd you get that haircut?
Josh Adia.
Josh, you did the haircut?
I did.
With his
I
own
did.
hands.
The Coens said, because I've been around longer than Javier, the Coens said, since you have so much experience, why don't you cut his hair? And Javier went, no! And I went, no, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. So I did. I took the garden shears and went for it. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I have a salon right down the street, by the way, if you want to go.
Plug it, give an address?
No.
No,
obviously.
really, what happened with the haircut?
The haircut was Coins and Paul LeBlanc, the hairdresser idea, and it took him like 3 minutes to destroy my life for the next 3 months. Because that's my actual hair. And yeah, when they say cut and you go back to the hotel to sleep, you have to live with that. So that's what happened.
Javier would go into this severe depression where you just, and it wasn't like you'd think it was the part and you thinking all that, and I go, hey, what's wrong? What's the matter with you? And he goes, oh, my hair. It's awful. I'm going to die.
Javier, how much training did you have to do for this movie? Was there anything involved in learning to shoot that cattle rifle?
Yeah, actually, yes, because there was this great guy called Keith that was teaching us how to shoot, and I never held a gun before. I hope not to hold it again. I'm the worst in that sense, and I was shooting, how do you say the target thing? The guy that comes...
Target practice?
Yeah. The first time I shoot, I hit it on the head. Boom, boom, boom. And he was like, wow. I said, no, that's an accident. From there on, I never hit the target again. Never, ever. Because I was shooting like looking to the other side. And the guy was saying, are you playing a villain? You can barely watch what you're doing. And when you're shooting, I said, I hate violence. Kind of. And he called me the Spanish ballerina.
Josh, you came to this movie in an interesting way with probably the world's most expensive audition tape ever. Will you tell the audience how exactly that happened?
I was in the middle of doing a movie called Grindhouse in Austin, Texas, and I heard about this. I had read the book long before, and I was a huge fan of the book long before I found out about the movie and that they were making a movie. So anyway, Robert, who carries around a video camera pretty much, 80% of the time, I've known him for years and years, and I said, hey, would you mind, shooting a couple of scenes, this Coen Brothers movie, this book is being adapted and all that, and he said, well, why don't we just use the camera that we have, which was $1 million, the highest in Genesis camera that they have right now. And he says, let's do it during lunch. So what ended up happening is Marley Shelton, who plays my wife in Grindhouse, played Carla Jean, sweetly enough. And we went in during lunch with a completely lit set, used $1 million camera to shoot an audition that Quentin Tarantino directed and Robert lit and shot. and then Robert cut it afterwards and put music to it and all this. And anyway, they got it a few days later, and their response was, "Wow, who lit it?" And then ultimately the response was no. That he's not the guy we're looking for. And it wasn't until about 2.5 months later that my agent, who is an amazing guy, Michael Cooper, was able to be persistent enough and annoying enough to get me into the last casting session that they had. What I found out later was the last casting session. And even when I left, because the Coens don't emote very much, you know, I mean, basically they're stone-faced. So when I left, I thought, well, it's cool meeting the Coens, and maybe one day I'll be able to do a line or two in one of their movies. And then I got a call, you know, within 3 hours saying I got the part. But the audition tape didn't help. That's why you should use little video cameras and use Final Cut, and you'll be fine making movies like that from now on.
He's just plugging in because he got free
Use a
stuff.
computer now, please.
Javier, how did you find this movie? Did Almodovar shoot a video for you?
No, they called me.
We've been through this before.
No, my agent also knew that there was a tiny room for a foreign actor to play Cigar, since Cigar in the book and in the script doesn't belong to anywhere in the special. So it was a big chance for a foreign actor to play that role, and I have to say that the Coens are by far my favorite directors ever since the first time I saw Blood Simple back in the end of the 80s. And when I heard that, I was truly anxious to see if I could be that one. And I met with them, and the miracle happened.
It's great. Will you actually play clip number 2, No Information? The actual clip number 2. See a little bit of the humor in this movie.
Yes, sir?
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
Did you go up to his trailer?
Yes, I did.
Well, I'd say he's at work. Do you want to leave a message?
Where does he work?
I can't say.
Where does he work?
Sir, I ain't at liberty to give out no information about our residents.
Where does he work?
Did you not hear me? We can't give out no information.
A little taste of the humor. So, Josh, back to your story. So you get this part of a lifetime, basically, and then, of course, something goes wrong just before filming. What happened to you?
2 days after I got the part, you know, working, and unlike Javier, you know, I've always been a huge fan of the Coens, and just the humor and the tension in this film, and knowing that they were going to inject kind of absurd humor in the whole thing, it's kind of my bag, and I was so happy and proud and honored to work with the Coens. And I was doing another movie. I was just about to start another movie called The Dead Girl, and I was riding my motorcycle from the wardrobe fitting of the Coens movie to the Dead Girl wardrobe fitting, and a car turned left right in front of me, and I T-boned a car at about 40 miles an hour, and I was in the air, and I was thinking about how nice it would have been to work with the Coens, and you know, it's too bad that. Anyway, I was in the air for a very long time. It was like I was swimming through the air, and when I landed, I snapped my collarbone in half, and I knew it right away. I heard it pop, and then I thought, all right, what do I? Anyway, I didn't say anything for a week, and then my lawyer told me, look, you're liable if you don't say anything and you get hurt again on the set, because my feeling was just grit your teeth and get through it. You know, you can do it. And then finally I talked to my doctor, and then I told Ethan, who I knew was going to call my doctor, so I coached my doctor in what to say. Anyway, it was all a big lie. It started out as a hairline fracture, and then by the end of the movie, they found out that it was a total snap. Anyway, we did it.
And it wasn't a not physical role. I mean, what happened with this dog? There's a sort of incredible scene where you're being chased by the world's most vicious animal. How did that go with your collarbone?
Collarbone? I mean, the whole thing, people have asked me, well, did it help your role and all that? And all that's kind of crap. But what it did do is Ethan called me at one point, right before we started shooting, and he said, what collarbone is broken? Because Moss gets, it's okay to say this, right? Moss gets shot in the right shoulder toward the beginning of the film, and he said, what shoulder did you snap your collarbone or break your collarbone? I said, the right side. He goes, okay, we'll be fine. He didn't care about me. He just cared it was the right side. But yeah, we had this dog, and we shot for a week, and this dog, I mean, you'll see the movie eventually, or I don't know if there's a clip here or anything, but we shot for a week swimming away from a dog that was not a movie dog. It was a trained attack dog, which I think was just fun for the Coens. You know, they're a weird bunch.
Javier, did you hang out and watch the dog?
No, not really. That day he woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to shoot Dawn, you say?
Dawn and Dusk.
With his collarbone broken and a dog that he was doing like that. I said, no, I'm going back to the hotel. What am I doing here?
He was back in the
It's his
hotel
job.
crying about his haircut.
I was just trying to figure out in front of the mirror what to do with it.
We're going to show a clip called the Del Rio.
That's a pretty good scene, I have to say. I was scared that you were showing this. Are there any kids in the room?
We were looking for kids in the room.
I always wonder when you're shooting a movie like that and you're shooting a scene, do you know it's scary when you're shooting it, or do you wonder how is this ever going to cut together in some way that's creepy?
Not really. I mean, I think it depends so much on the way they put it together, and that's exactly what happened to me when I saw it. I understood perfectly what they want me to do, and I didn't because I wasn't able. So they put it together in a way that it's really scary and fun when they choose to be fun, which is also amazing, having in mind that I never pretend to be fun, but that's why it's so important who's behind the camera, and they are the Coens.
Yeah, you knew how tense it was supposed to be because it reads tense and all that, but there's so many little bits that you have to put together. Just that sequence that right there, I'm sure, was like 3 or 4 days, or maybe even more. And then when we saw it the first time, we had no idea. We were just like supporting each other when we saw it the first time because, it could have been silly. It could have just not cut together. And then you see the way this is, for us, saw the way it was cut together. We've read the book a couple of times. We've read the script probably 15 times. And still I looked over at Javier and both of us were like this watching the movie. And then he leaned over to me and he goes, "It's a pretty good movie, isn't it?" And I go, "That's pretty good, man." We were very happy.
When did you first do your impersonation of Javier for him?
Probably the second day. He was so funny because he went to go do Love in the Time of Cholera. He hates it, but he laughs along just because he doesn't have a choice. But he was doing in Colombia, Love in the Time of Cholera, and he called me and said, "Man, I'm so happy I'm not around you right now because I'm around Spanish-speaking people, and it's nice to not be made fun of for one day."
You're both actually the children of families who are involved in the business and acting. Do you run your projects by your families? Does that help you? Does it hurt you?
Do you run? What does that mean?
That means you show your family the scripts before you do them so they can decide for you.
Well, no, not really. I mean, I asked for advice. My mom has been working as an actress since almost 50 years now, and the parents of my grandparents were actors in a time where actors were not allowed to be buried on a sacred land because they were prostitutes and homosexuals based on what people were saying. So they were not
Respected.
respected.
Right.
So it comes from a long place, long time. But yes, of course, my mom is like a great, really amazing actress, and I always ask for advice, and she always tell me, you have to get grown by yourself, man. I can't give you any advice more than that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, because they're in the same business, whether it be in plumbing or acting or whatever, they have the experience. And you go, and usually the case is be true to yourself, especially in this business when you're, you have the pull of doing things that may not be visceral characters. And I think that's where we're really lucky. I mean, we've been able to do these kind of phenomenal, visceral, bizarre characters, that are kind of turning into leading men now, which is great,
Javier, how do you decide where to work? Since you do work in so many different countries, or in home in Spain and here, and how do you decide?
I don't think it's something that I decide. It's something that happened, like an accident. I live in Madrid. I live in Spain. I work in Spanish. But funny enough, I have more offers now coming from the outside rather than from the inside. But it's not something that you choose. It's something that happens that way, and then you want to keep on working. It's not about changing your place because you want to achieve any goal in specific or get to some place in specific. It's like you want to work, and if they call you from here and there are things like that, I mean, you will be totally nuts if you don't do it.
And what are the Coens like? They don't give many interviews. They're pretty quiet. Let us inside.
They're freaky, strange. They're manipulative. They kept us in cages the whole time. When we didn't do what they wanted, what? They didn't feed us. They did feed Javier quite a lot, actually. No, I mean,
Are they encouraging as directors?
I know you don't want to joke around. That's okay. Yeah, are they encouraging? Very. There's an incredible lack of ego on the set. I felt
That was on you.
That was what?
That side was on you.
Yeah, I know. Every time I tell this story, Javier's like, well, not with me. For the first 2 weeks, I think that, at least for me, okay, that it was a little unnerving because they don't give a lot of feedback, and later on you start to realize that, the onus is to cast properly, at least from their perspective. So when you're actually doing scenes, there's not a lot of tweaking, and a lot of, directors manipulate a lot of times and, really try to get you to this place, even if it's not necessary because they feel like they're doing something, that's part of their job and they need to do it, where the Coens only really end up doing what's necessary. And you don't know if it's going to, because there's such a lack of manipulation going on, that you're not sure how it's turning out. And there's no real compliments. Again, he says that's not true with his, but it is true. It's not like, wow, oh, amazing scene. Oh my God, you're amazing. We're going to use you in the next one. There's none of that. And I've said this a bunch of times, that Ethan's, greatest compliment to me after a long scene that I did is he looked at me and he kind of went, and I was like, what is that? And he was like, no, it's good. It's good. We're going to go on to the next scene? Nah, if you want. It's up to you.
Javier, what's the difference between the Coens and Julian Schnabel?
Why do they have to have anything in common? I mean,
They both make movies with you.
yeah. I guess the only common point is me. No, I mean, Julian is, I haven't thought about that. That's a very tricky question. I guess they have in common the need of really doing what they believe in. I mean, they are not especially people taken by what the market expects from out of them or something. It's like they do what they believe in, and no matter how much effort that will take, or they really are loyal to themselves, and that's very difficult to find these days, no?
They're very personal in what they do, and there was a great
Thank
thing.
you. It was that easy. They were very personal.
Yeah, personal. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a moment after Julian saw No Country that I saw him outside. It was in Toronto, I guess.
Yeah.
And saw him. Was it New York? anyway, I saw him outside of the hotel, and he came up to me, and he was so, I mean, he was like, God, that movie is amazing, and Javier, and you, and this, and he kind of went on and on and on and on and on, but he said a really revealing thing. He said, you know, the Coens put so much preparation into what they do. They basically know exactly what they're going to do. When we get the pages in the morning, there's the storyboards, you know, on the back side of the pages, so we know what we're going to do. We know exactly what they're going to shoot, whereas Julian said, he said, that's not really my style. What I like to do is dig a hole, throw my actors in there, and then film them coming out, climbing out, which I thought was really revealing, you know?
That's nice.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yes, it's Toronto.
It's Toronto. It is Toronto, right?
Is there a downtime on the set? I know you shot some in Vegas, or is it work, work, work? Or is there any time where, when you're not running from rabid dogs, you can relax and enjoy yourselves?
We enjoyed ourselves the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, for me to be in those landscapes, Vegas, Texas, no Vegas, Las Vegas, no?
No,
Right?
Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Las Vegas, New Mexico. Okay, I was totally wrong.
That's all right.
Don't
You
ask
were
me
in
about it.
character.
But we had fun. I don't know the other people, but we had fun.
We had a blast together. Yeah. Yeah. We can't tell you the stories.
Yeah, of course not.
Well,
Illegal.
that sort of segues perfectly into this next scene. Would you play the clip Buenos Dias?
Buenos dias. I'm guessing this isn't the future you had pictured for yourself when you first clapped eyes on that money. Don't worry, I'm not the man who's after you.
I know that. I've seen him.
You've seen him. Man, you're not dead.
What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
No, I don't think that's how I'd describe him.
How would you describe him?
I guess I'd say he doesn't have a sense of humor. His name's Chigurh.
Sugar.
Chigurh, Anton Chigurh. You know how he found you?
Yeah, I know how he found me.
It's called a transponder.
I know what it's called. He won't find me again.
Not that way.
Not anyway.
Took me about 3 hours.
Yeah, well, I've been immobile.
No, you don't understand.
There's no Woody Harrelson stories we can share in the Apple Store, the family-friendly Apple Store.
Woody was the only guy that got through that scene, and he had changed a line here and there, and he came in with, like, I don't know, pretty severe rewrites at one point, which they just kind of chuckled at. But he did change a line here and there, but he was the one guy that when he finished that scene, the Coens were like, oh my God, amazing, wow. And we were like, what's happening? We've been here for 2 months, man. Woody's been here for 2 hours.
The book and the movie are, in many ways, sort of about longing for a simpler time. Maybe it's ironic to talk about that at the Apple Store. But it's about sort of this No Country for Old Men. Do you guys ever feel like things are moving too quickly, or when you go home to Spain, do you think this is maybe a little bit better?
Do you answer first? Then I think about the answer.
He knows that I can just talk and talk and talk. No, no, not at all, because I think that's a generational thing. I think it happens every generation since the beginning of parents and their kids, you know, where the parents are always looking at their children and the generation after them and going, what's the world coming to? It's all coming to an end. And then those people grow up, become punk rockers and look back at their kid. You know what I mean? It's a never-ending cycle. So I just think this is a very specified West Texas version of this place and time, you know?
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Do you guys think about awards? There was a big success when the film premiered at the film festivals. Do you start to think about the Oscars, or does it make you uncomfortable to think about it?
Meetings about awards.
You're
Like in the
I'm
middle
sure
of the
you're not
movie,
kidding.
I think, what do you think, Oscar, maybe? Or at least maybe one from our kids, if that doesn't happen, one we can buy at Walmart. No.
It's impossible not to think about it, since every interview that we've done in the last month, everybody's bringing the issue to the table, and you go, yeah, but let's not talk about it. And there's a moment where you can stop talking about let's not talk about it. So at the end, you talk about it the whole day. And It could be great, but I mean, of course, who doesn't want to be recognized? Everybody. We have our own egos, and we are actors, so we even have a double of that. But it's too much of a big deal for me, and I guess for everybody to think about that. Something that hasn't to do with what your goal was, which is just do a good movie with the Coens, which is already done, and that's for me is enough. That's my
It
gift.
seems like the people who bring that up, it's more about an appreciation for the film, that they really love the film, and they want that experience to continue, and therefore they'll bring something, the one thing that you can bring up, which is something way down the line in February and March. How can we keep this feeling going, you know, which is a great compliment.
Javier, you were nominated a few years ago. What do you remember about that night?
You were?
Yeah, I was, man.
Okay, sorry.
What do I remember? I remember the wild party, the losers party. My God, that was a party because Amores Perros, you remember that movie? The whole Mexican bunch lost also, and all the Spaniards and Latins, we went to a party called the losers party. I'm sure that the winners should have wished to be in that party. That's what I remember.
That's great.
We're gonna play one last clip. It's a mess.
Well, this is just a deal gone wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Appears to have been a glitch or two.
What calibers you got there, Sheriff?
9mm. Couple of 45 ACPs. Somebody unloaded on that thing with a shotgun.
How come you reckon the coyotes ain't been at them?
I don't know.
I think we're looking at more than one fracas.
That Mexican brown dope.
Well, this was earlier. Getting set to trade. Then, whoa, differences. You know, might not even have been no money.
That's possible.
But you don't believe it.
No. Probably I don't.
Well, it's a mess, ain't it, Sheriff?
If it ain't, it'll do till the mess gets here.
Okay, I think we're gonna take some questions from the audience. The question was just, what challenged you most about these two roles?
The lack of dialogue, the silence. You know, as an actor, you're motivated by dialogue. Dialogue is whether it's a crutch or not. I never thought of it in those terms until this movie. But, you know, all drama and comedy and everything is motivated by dialogue. And take the dialogue out, and suddenly you have to start figuring out how to convey ideas without words. So, and then you take the music, the manipulative music out of it, and then everything has weight all of a sudden. Means something. And means something. And that means something. And the fear was not to overcompensate. You know, the Coens and I made it a very conscious choice, or I did. I came to them and I said, look, if I start either checking out completely because I've walked the desert, you know, for the umpteenth time, and I start taking a trip to Tahiti in my head, please let me know if you see the vacancy in my eyes. Or if I start grunting or scratching where it just doesn't belong, if I'm just doing it because I'm feeling boring or something, please tell me to stop. But so that was for me.
For me, it was more kind of trying to portray what on the book and on the script is more kind of a symbolic idea or representation of what violence is, and it's not really like a human being, more than kind of an icon of what a violence represents. So try to put that on, well, I don't know, on a physicality, on a body language kind of thing.
He was just asking about rehearsal. The process of rehearsal for the film.
There was rehearsal time, not very long though. Yeah, a week, and not very, intense in the sense of really people making a huge brainstorming kind of thing. It was more bringing ideas to the common sense from everybody, because the Coens really allow you to go your way, and if you are wrong, they let you know, but they're really open to let yourself bring whatever you think is the best for the role. And which is a big responsibility, because it's sometimes I wish like a little kid to have daddy and mommy telling me what I have to do, but they ask you to be a grown up, and it's okay. That's your chance. Show me. And you go, wow.
It's really well put. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And these guys, they don't they don't carry you along. They said, you got a job to do, you do it. So the rehearsal process was mostly questions for us. I remember Javier, and I won't to say what it was, but Javier got very frustrated at one point because of a scene. And we saw each other at the sushi restaurant afterwards, and he was like, oh man, it's so frustrating. They're so nice. They're so nice because they allow you to go through your process, because they're more confident about process than anybody else I've ever seen. That you go through the fluctuations of insecurity and finding the role, because you want to feel like you've earned the role, even after you've gotten the role, in order to appropriately play it, you know, or dynamically play it. So yeah, a lot of questions. There was no, you wouldn't, you know, there's only a quarter page of dialogue that you'd be able to rehearse.
Yeah.
Or shotguns or something, you know.
The question was, did you guys meet Cormac McCarthy at all, the author of the novel, and did he have any interaction on the film?
I didn't. He was on the set one day that I was in, and I guess I was so anxious to make some questions about that I didn't ask anything. I just asked him what was the right pronunciation of my character's name, which is quite weird, and he said Shigor. So okay, that's fine. He saw my haircut and he approved it.
We asked him, like, what was the etymology of Shigor? And he goes, just made up, which I loved.
Did he really say that?
He did. He honestly said that, just made up. We thought it was some great mythological, you know, the horse and the snakes coming out of the hooves and all this kind of stuff. But no, we didn't know. The Coens had never talked to him before he came to the set. A friend of mine found his number, was able to find his number, and he just he's not interested in talking about the writing or any of it. And I don't even think the Coens were. He's a huge fan of Miller's Crossing, so we talked about that a lot.
The question was, how much did the landscape of the Southwest influence your performances?
On my side, I have in mind that I'm from Spain, and I went there and I spent there 3 months, shooting 1-2 days per week, having a lot of free time and watching that landscape. I felt quite an isolation, which it was pretty good for me to bring that into the role, having in mind, as I said before, that the character himself doesn't belong to anywhere, so he feels like, not that he feels, is kind of an isolated human being. So that worked on my side with working proposals, but personal, it was hard. I mean, I love the landscape, but it was too much time there without driving license. I don't drive, so it was like, landscape was something right there in the distance.
It was like when they were talking about Javier doing the part, he says, I don't know, because I don't drive, I don't like violence, and I don't speak English, so maybe it's not so good that I do this. Landscape is like a character in Coen, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because it is. They create character. You know, if you look at Fargo, and you see this vast, white, wide shots, you know, their terrain, or the terrain that they choose for where their movie sets, becomes a character in itself. And I think this is appropriate because it's mean and it's dirty and it's gritty and, you know, and all that. So it's nice that they're able to exploit that, you know. That's their through line. I don't see a lot of through line in their movies except that, you know.
The question was, Javier shot a film this summer in Spain with Woody Allen, and the question was about filming in your home country with a foreign director and shooting here in the States being a foreigner.
Well, there are good things and bad things in both sides, which means a good thing is to work in your homeland, you eating your own food, with your friends, and also sharing a set with Woody Allen. That's kind of weird, though, because you wake up, you speak Spanish, you do your normal life, but you go to a set and it's Woody Allen there. You go, wow, what a... And I heard, I think that he had a very good time shooting there, because people there is more. It's not about being more or less. It's like there's a fun into shooting that it's there. It's in the nature of the people there. working with the coins and being in the landscape that we were talking before helps tremendously to understand psychologically the character, but somehow I felt detached from my own roots. And thanks to my Mr. Brolin, I had a good fun and I was very good taken care of. I love you, Josh.
The first part of the question was about Javier working in a second language.
It can never be the same working in Spanish than in English. It's impossible. I think the words implies a memory that is related to the experience of our lives, and my experience in English is just very brief and brand new. So when you act, you try to let yourself go, let yourself free, and at the same time be connected with something personal in somehow. And the lack of that experience in the words makes that very difficult to happen. So there's always a judge in your mind while you're acting that is telling you what to do. Watch out with that D, watch out with that word, make a pause, stress that word, not the other one. And there's a machine going on very fast that you have to control, and it's so against what performing is that sometimes it's very schizophrenic.
The question was for Javier, how he brought a humanity to this villain, this character.
I don't think he has any humanity, though. I think that he's kind of machine. But it's true that you have to find something that is down to earth for people to get related to him. Otherwise, you will see a machine going on, like kind of a Terminator, and you won't feel anything for him. I don't know. I think it's based on imagination and fiction. I haven't killed anybody so far, so I can really go back to my experience. But what I think is that we all want to kill someone in our life, somehow, our parents included. And of course, we stopped doing it. We stopped because we have common sense and we have a reason that tells us what's good and what's bad. But with imagination, you can fill that gap of those who cannot stop and go ahead with it. And that's where the fun of performing begins, because it's about losing yourself in imagining what that would be.
Yeah, I mean, we're not two guys that feel like if we play plumbers that we have to find the core of what a plumber really is, you know. And I know a lot of people feel that way, or a lot of actors feel like they need to go there. But I think we are the same, and where you don't, you know, we're already human, so the human side of it is kind of already there, and then you just let your imagination go wild, you know. Yeah. I mean, he can't help but be human, and he's Latino.
Great, we're just going to play the last clip, the trailer.
I was sheriff of this county when I was 25 years old. Grandfather was a lawman, father too. The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure.
We're out a bunch of money and the other party is out his product.
Willin, what's in the satchel?
Full of money?
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
Do you want to leave a message?
Yes.
What are you doing, baby?
Fixing to do something dumber than hell, but I'm going anyways.
You think the Moss has got any notion of the sorts that are hunting him?
You can't stop what's coming.
What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
These people will kill him, Carla Jean. They won't quit.
He won't neither.
I always seen this is what it'd come to. I previsioned it.
You know how this is gonna turn out, don't you?
Nope.
I think you do. the most you ever lost? And the coin toss. Call it friendo.
No Country for Old Men opens in theaters tomorrow. I want to thank the Apple Store.
I love that trailer, man.
I want to see that movie.
I want to see that movie.
Thank you to Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin.
Thank you.
Thanks again.